National Master James Canty III here with Chess.com, and today we have Game of the Day. With the white pieces we have Stockfish, and with the black pieces we have Leela Chess 0. Let's get right into it, guys. So first move, what are you thinking? E4, D4, Knight F3, C4, B3, Larson system, maybe G3, or H3, move 1 from Stockfish? Wow, don't try this at home. Or maybe try it because Stockfish is doing it now. H3 move 1. Wow. Well, E5 is next here. Now, a little bit about this H3 move, of course. What it is it's going to transpose into many different openings. Now, H3 move 1 is definitely strange, but it can have some merit to it as it does transpose into different openings that you may see every day with just the early inclusion of H3 move 1. Now E5 and then E4. So of course, after H3, once again, when H3 happens, and you see this in your own games, you just want to control the center. So E5 from Leela Chess, E4, and then Knight F6 and Knight F3. We have a Petrov in a way, but H3, early H3, kind of strange here. And after Knight F3 here, of course, we have D5 from Leela Chess 0. So striking the center immediately, which is something you should always do in every game. Strike the center immediately. After D5, there's E takes D5 and a temporary pawn sacrifice with the move E4. Attacking the knight on F3, so we need to move it. It could be dangerous. And he says, hey, you know what? I'm going right into this. Knight E5, let's see what you do. Queen takes D5 from Leela Chess 0, and then we have D4 here. So now it's defending the knight here, and also stopping the queen, of course, from capturing, but striking the center once again, getting the bishop out as well, and it's defending my knight. Great move here. We do have en passant, which could happen, and a deadly threat on the board of bishop C4 attacking the F7 pawn, and also hitting the queen as well. So after D4, there's E takes D3, en passant. And then after E takes D3, you have to take with the knight if you don't want to lose material. So knight takes D3. Strange knight on D3. Pawn on H3. Strange game here. After knight C6 and knight C3, what does this look like? For all you Scandinavian players out there or the center counter players, this is exactly what it looks like. Some type of Scandinavian with a early H3 on the board. As it did transpose, just like we said, it will transpose into a lot of different openings. Queen to A5 is on the board, Scandinavian fashion. You can play bishop D2. Stockfish chooses bishop to E2, and then bishop to D7. Maybe we're looking at a castle queenside. So castle kingside and castle queenside from Leela Chess 0. Now, this is one of those positions that if you get this, of course, opposite side castles, one castle's kingside, one castle's queenside. The plans are very simple. Whoever gets to the king first in these type of positions is going to win immediately. So it's all a race. Let's see who gets to the king first. Bishop E3, of course, developing our pieces. This is still the development phase. Get the pieces out, formulate your plans. Bishop E3 and then queen to F5, transferring the queen to the king side of the board. Things like bishop D6 can happen. And if you see sometimes in the aggressive opposite side castle Scandinavians, you'll see G5 and G4, moving the rook to G8 and trying to develop mate as quickly as possible. Queen F5 and then A4 from Stockfish, saying, hey, I am going to get to your king first, or at least try to. A4 and A6. So this move right here is actually what you call a hook pawn, where a lot of times you can actually either sacrifice or play B4 and B5, and you have a target already. So after A6, well, bishop F3 says I'm going to get both of my bishops on this side of the board where the action is and where I should be attacking. And black does the same. My bishops and my pieces are pointing to this side of the board. Again, guys, it's a race, and we don't know who's going to win that race yet. Bishop D6. Now, take a look at this position. It is white to move. What would you do in this position to continue your attack? Well, here it is, guys. Maybe you can play something like rook B1, B3, G3, G4, rook E1, knight D5. Maybe knight D5 is no good. It hangs a piece. But here's what Stockfish says. Stockfish says, very simple. We're just going to play knight B5. Not that simple at all. Tricks you there. Knight B5 and we live. That's a big boy move. Wow. Now, after knight B5, of course, Leela Chess stops and thinks and says, you know what? You're going to have to show me. A takes B5. I'm going for it because I am Leela Chess 0. After A takes B5, there's A takes B5, and now the rook file is open. Rook A8 is definitely going to be mate if this knight moves to something like knight E7. So queen takes B5, allowing us to defend the check with knight to B8. Rook A8 and knight B8 does happen, and then we have to keep the attack going. Once you sacrifice material, it is suicide. It is not good. You should not be able to play slow chess after you sacrifice a piece. There are rare occasions and rare cases, but you need to keep the attack going. So bishop A7 attacks the knight. Rook takes b8 is mate. So c6 here defends the knight on b8. Very simple. But this bishop is now what we call loose. Loose pieces are undefended. So we have something we can do with it. After c6, there's knight to c5, very strong move, attacking the bishop on d6, trying to remove the defender. And if bishop takes c5, well, then we have moves like rook takes b8 or even bishop takes b8. Could be very, very devastating. Getting out of there and checkmating very soon. Knight c5 and king c7, defending the bishop and also defending the knight with both of the rooks here, and the rooks are connected. And then bishop e2 from Stockfish. Again, guys, once you sacrifice a piece, you got to keep going. You have to keep attacking. You have to keep the initiative up. Initiative is time and activity, and you got to keep going. You got to keep threatening things. So bishop e2 attacking the queen. Queen to b4, attack it again. Queen f4, you're threatening mate. Whoa, attack it again. Back up. And then queen to f5 or queen to e5 here. After queen e5, guys, you got a lot of moves you can make here. Maybe f4, maybe knight d3, maybe b4. Queen b3, right? Now, take a second here and look at this position and what would you play as white? Well, here's what Stockfish says. Stockfish says, you know what? This is what I'm going to play right here. Real close. Come in real close. Lean in. Here it is. You ready? Knight takes b7 is on the board. Oh my goodness. Yes, it's one of those type of games, guys. Knight takes b7 is on the board. That's very, very strong. Well, let's see what happens if we actually take the knight, which didn't happen. But if king takes b7, you have this cool line of queen b3 check, king takes a8, and then rook to a1. And you're done. That's a wrap there, guys. Queen b5 is the best move, sacrificing the queen because there's mate threats literally everywhere. So after queen b5, instead of taking the queen, when you find a good move, you look for a better one. So bishop c5 check, discovery. King goes to b7, rook a7 check, king to c8. And a beautiful move here. You don't even have to take the queen. You don't have to. I mean, you probably can, but bishop takes d6, threatening rook c7, mate. Now, my queen's hanging. You can take it if you like. Rook c7 is mate, and we great. Wow, beautiful type of game there. Knight takes b7 on the board. So Leela Chess says, okay, you know what? Hey, I know you're kind of serious. We're just going to do this. Bishop takes h3, so we're going to open the file here. Maybe have something to deal with later. Let's see what happens. Bishop takes h3. We take the rook on d8. It just says, oh, we got bishop takes b8 coming. A lot of decisiveness working on here. A lot of tactics in this game. Rook takes d8 and then bishop to b6 check. Very strong check here. If king takes, you have moves like queen check. And of course, rook to a6 in the right situation. The knight's on here right now, but usually you would see something like queen to b3 check in this next series. And after king back to c7, rook to a7, king c8, queen b7, mate, and we great. So now bishop b6, there's pieces hanging everywhere. King b7, this is hanging, everything's hanging, right? And here's another cool move, rook a7 check, threatening if king takes b6, queen b5 once again, and rook to a1, and you're done. This is awesome. Rook a7 check, king c8. He goes back, and then we go rook e1. Getting a rook off the file with a smile. Bishop a6 with the discovery, attacking the queen. Wow. Stockfish came to play today. This is nasty. Rook e1, rook d7. I got to get rid of some of these pieces. We got to start trading. After rook to d7, there's queen to a1, which is a very cool move here. Getting and activating the queen on this side of the board. Now, you could have played bishop check anyway. But again, when you find a good move, you look for a better one. Queen a1 is actually better due to calculation. Being Stockfish calculating, very good stuff. Queen a1, there's a lot of chess left, so let's fly through a few moves. Rook takes and queen takes a7 and then knight to e4 here. So of course now my pieces are starting to advance. I do have things like knight takes g3 in the air here. So when you have these kind of situations, your opponent has counterplay. You got to keep the initiative or keep whatever you have going as fast as humanly possible. Knight e4, bishop a6 check. Let's go, says Stockfish. Knight takes, queen takes, and then we have king to d7, best move, only move in a way. And then after king d7, there's queen to b7 check. Running the king somewhere, king goes over to e6. Now, we keep the attack going. Keep the threats up. If you notice how many times Stockfish made threats, it makes the position much better for Stockfish, even being down a piece here, but only temporarily. After king e6, there's bishop d4, attack the queen, and rook takes e4 is going to be very strong. So queen to d5, and Stockfish says, you know what, it's time to get my piece back. Your king's in the center of the board, in the middle of the street, looking crazy here. And queen c8 check, king e7, and takes. This position is already winning. This game is basically over. Now, we still have chess left. Let's see what happens. But beautiful sacrifice on that side of the board. Whoever gets to the king first, right, is going to win. And if you look at the king structure here, this king was castled. This king still is castled. So it's all about who gets to the king first. King to d8. Bishop b6 check. We're keeping the threats alive. bishop to c7, and we trade. Or actually, we take on h7 first because this is a better way of doing it, as you can take the knight. But it is going to be a trade. Queen takes h7, bishop takes, and queen takes. Now, the rest of this game is going to be technique. Pretty simple, but this game's over. We're up in exchange. We're doing better. We're up a pawn here. King safety is disgusting for black here. White's going to win this game. Let's see how. Queen takes c4, rook takes, and king d7. This is a theoretically winning endgame. You should be able to win this endgame as a human here. Let's see some technique. Rook g4, attack the g7 pawn. G6, defending the pawn. King f1, stepping out of the pin for the win. And also you have to make sure that you get your king to the center of the board to help you in whatever you're trying to do. King to e6 here. And then we have a rook to a4 sliding to the other side of the board. We have passed pawns. Now you have to think about, or a passed pawn. You have to think about this in an endgame. When you're in an endgame, the most important thing you should be worrying about, even in the middle game and in the beginning, of course, is the pawn structure. What do the pawns look like? The skeleton of the pawns. So that means if we remove the rook and the bishop in this situation, it's already a winning endgame, actually. And how you would do that is we have the two passed pawns here, or the one, actually. We're going to create one passed pawn on this side of the board. And then we're going to use our king as what we call a fox in the chicken coop from Jeremy Silman's in-game course. Is what you'll be doing is actually using the king to gobble up these pawns, while this king is actually trying to stop the passed pawn on this side of the board. Now, this is only looking at the pawns, but that's enough to help you find an idea, a strategy, a plan to end up winning this endgame. King to d6, king e2, king d7, and rook b4 attacking the bishop. Bishop c7, rook b7, and then we have king c8, and you would think you would just move your rook, right? Rook b4, maybe keep the rook on the board, but this is why we explained the pawn structure first about a winning endgame and what you should do, because look at this. Bam, rook takes c7. Who would do that? How many of you would have done rook takes c7 in this position? Wow, it's almost a baffling move, but in fact, it's actually winning because of the skeleton pawn structure here. When we get to the endgame, these pawns are easy to queen, or we're going to use it to make a pass pawn. This king is going to come over here and snatch these while we go up in queen. Let's see. King f3, king d6, king e4. King c5, king e5. We now have an opposition here. King f6 is going to be a thing as well. He plays king c4 and he says, oh, okay, you're going for this pawn? Cool. Pass pawns must be pushed. So f4 happens. King b3, king f6, and c5. He's trying to get there as quickly as possible, but unfortunately, he's going to be too late. We're going to gobble these, queen this one, sack on this one, queen this one, and the game's over. c5, and then king takes f7, c4, king takes g2, and king a2. Engine move. That's definitely an engine move. You should just take the pawn right. Might as well try. But you know this game's losing. King a2, f5, king b3, f6, king c2. Doesn't even take the pawn. That's how you know it's bad. The engine does not take the pawn. But the humans, we would probably just snatch these pawns up because this one is just hopelessly over. Now after f7, king to b3, king f5, king c2, we're going to fast forward here. Pretty simple stuff. Queen to pawn, queen f2, threatening mate in many different ways. King c1, king to d4. And the reason sometimes that you would keep these pawns, especially maybe if you're playing bullet chess or low on time, is because your opponent may be able to stalemate you in these type of situations. King to b1, king takes c4, king b3, king b1. No matter where you move, there's going to be checkmate. King b1 is the only move, actually. And queen to anywhere on the back rank will be mate. Queen f1 was chosen by Stockfish here. And checkmate is on the board. That was awesome. That sack right there was amazing, especially with the knight to b5, capturing back on b5, putting the rook on a8, and just always pushing initiative, activity. How do my pieces look? Who's castle to what side of the board? Who's getting to the king first? These things were very, very important in this game, and I hope you learned something and can apply them to your own games. I'm National Master James Canty III here with Chess.com, and I'll see you guys on the next video.